when I finally got in here, it was like I had to close all the way out of Zoom because I was getting this message that it was unresponsive. And I'm like, ugh, do I have to go all the way out or what? So anyway, all is well. All is
It is. Oh,
yeah. So good morning, good morning. Oof. So happy, so happy, so happy. I am I could feel it rising, feel it rising. Okay, here it is. Here it is. I got my glasses, I got everything. Anything on your mind today?
no, I'm really happy. Although this is my second day that Spirit woke me up at 2 o'clock and I can't go back to sleep. So yeah, I'm up. I took some vitamin B12 so I could get my workout in and yeah, be right here. I don't
So
know.
so what time do you go to bed?
Yesterday I went to bed around 9ish.
Okay.
Yeah, I got off work at 7, left the office by 7:30, got home about 8ish, ate a salad, and I think I was in the bed by 9,
So
9:30.
when you get into bed, do you go right to sleep?
Oh, most definitely. Normally, I just like boop,
Really?
pass out. Yeah, I say a little prayer, say my little declarations. I have a little verbal routine,
Mhm.
and then I'm out. And if I'm on the phone with my girlfriend, sometimes she'll hang up because I'll fall asleep on her. But the last 2 days, I've been waking up at 2 o'clock, so I've been listening to some Wayne Dyer affirmations. But I don't. Yeah, yesterday I made myself fall back to sleep. I think I went back to sleep at instead of going to the gym, I went back to sleep, and I think I woke up at 5:30. So,
Mhm.
but today I didn't. I have not been back to sleep. So,
Woo, good morning, Sarika. She like
good morning,
terrific
sir.
Thursday. She say,
Terrific
I'm
Thursday.
today.
We
You're
must
always
have a word for you.
she always on time. And
Yes,
the wonderful thing is that you can always go back and listen to it later. So
mm-hmm.
so my dog has been waking me up lately in the middle of the night. And sometimes I just want to lay there and act like I don't hear her. Because I don't know what that is about. But yeah, I woke up. I think I woke up at like 3:30, and
Mm.
instead of getting up, I just laid there, and I probably drifted back off to sleep because I don't remember all of that. I just remember when my
Um,
finally came on, and she could have woke me up. I did not have to get up and take her out though, so that was
oh, that's good.
yes. So at any rate, all is well. All is
It
in
is. It
order.
is.
Yes. So, I am. I'm so. It's so funny because when we first started this book, it didn't start with you. When we started this, I was like thinking to myself, like, I don't quite know how we're going to, how we're going to embark on this or how we're going to approach it. And it's really interesting because for me, there is this, do I want to call it, like, it almost seems like there's this pulling back, like a scab, pulling a scab off to see, you know um just to see if it's healing correctly, or to see what else needs to be done. But there is just like this, like, tending to our wounds that is taking place for me. And I know that some people, one of the things I forget, um, uh, Gabor Mate, he's got this book out, and he says that
Mm.
people were really critical of him because when he talked about the addictions that he had, which was spending money, and especially on what he calls classical music and all of this stuff. He says when, people were really critical because they was like, that's not like an addiction.
Addiction, but it is.
And he says,
Ooh,
but anytime I gotta hide stuff and I'm, embarrassed about it and it's causing me some kind of angst. He says that's why I use that to relate to what you're going through. It may not be like a chemical dependency like some people have, but still it is something from which he didn't feel like he had control over.
mhm. And it's something that we use whenever you use anything to self-soothe. When you start to recognize the body and you recognize what it's doing, you recognize what you're doing, you recognize why you're doing it, and that's when you say, oh, I got an addiction in this area. Like, it's a thing. It can be anything. It could be picking. It could be anything. So we
Yes.
can't minimize whatever we use to self-soothe. When we've been in some form of trauma, the natural tendency is to find something, whether it's sucking our thumb. That can be an addiction. You got 50-year-old people still sucking their thumb because it's how we soothe. That's how the person is soothing themselves. So yeah, we gotta let people call their own things what they call it. That's
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so funny because, as you go through and you look at, people are always judging other people's stuff. That ain't, but
hmm,
but if it's something that, like you were saying, if it's what you use or if it's what you do, if it's sucking your thumb, if it's masturbating, if
yes.
it's buying clothes, if it's chain smoking, if it's, what, I've seen people who go from one addiction to another addiction.
Most people do.
Yeah, not even recognizing that it is an addiction.
Hmm. Hmm.
And and we even see people who make other people their addiction.
Yes.
uh,
Yeah.
it's it's
It's all about soothing. It's all about feeling good. It's about feeling good. And once we learn the vibrational feeling of feeling good just because I'm me, we find something to feel good. We do it. We all do that thing
yeah.
some kind of way. I challenge everybody to pay attention to where they're doing it at because we do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
do it.
So um there is this, I got all these little playlists. You know how I am. Always, that thing in there to play this and play that. I got all these little playlists. And Tina Turner, she does a lot of chanting and a lot of chanting stuff. And she's got this thing where she says, when you sing, you do the right thing. When you pray, it goes the right way. And then she goes, sing. And then it's like, and you could groove on that for a minute. And then you say, when you sing. And so sometimes, people may, can you just imagine? Sometimes I can't. The one guy that I used to date, he was a little more, what do I want to say? A little more accepting of my strangeness, I will say.
Okay.
Not everybody is. Some people look at you like you done lost your mind. But it's like for me, and I know you the same way, right? For me, I got my own soundtrack going in my head all the time. I don't need to actually hear it
Right.
because all of a sudden it's like, and so sometimes I break out and dance around the house because it's like, yes, hey Ruth, terrific,
Good
thankful
morning.
Thursday. Yes.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you. Morning.
yeah. So I mean, and Yesterday I got a little irritated with the organization that I'm involved with. And when I get irritated, it was like I just needed to touch myself and just really think about, like, I'm never upset for the reasons I think I am, and what is that needs to come back to me? Why is this irritating me? So, asking myself the questions. And because the first thing is sometimes you just think, okay, I'm gonna hang up on this, I'm gonna hang up on
I don't want to hear this.
but yeah, it's what do we figure out? What do we do when we're having our moments, right? Is it catching our breath? Is it dancing? Is it touching ourselves? Because nowadays we don't get enough touch, we don't get enough connectedness, because everybody's masked up, gloved up. We don't even get those random hugs all that much anymore without, like, oh, I gotta not breathe your air or all that stuff. We don't get enough of those anymore. So look, hug yourself and dance a little bit.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
true.
Yes, 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 yes. So today, I know we ended yesterday, and we wanted to let something land, and I don't exactly know what it was that we were talking about, but I remember you saying Selah, Selah. Yes. So we're here, we're back. So um we were on this thing about his this ability to be, his inability to allow his mother to love him. We are in the book It Didn't Start With You by Mark Wolynn, Wolynn.
Mm.
And so actually, and we're actually on page 7. And we're talking a little bit about, we were talking about armor. That's what we were talking about. And we were talking about the ways in which we self-protect. We protect ourselves against being hurt, basically,
Mhm.
from other people, other things, as if there is this. And if you can imagine this, like a turtle, right?
Turtles are a good example.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes. And so if you can imagine this little squishy body that needs that armor around it to protect itself. And the moment something happens, it's like, you suck it in, so that nothing, you don't let anything in, and truly nothing gets out too.
Nothing gets out. Mm.
Yeah. So
Nothing real gets out. I mean, you got your head and your feet and hands are out, but your heart is so guarded,
right, right.
so guarded. Yeah, and you're under. My mother used to be like, "Your soft little underbelly." That part is covered. That's
Yeah,
her favorite line.
that's her favorite line.
She was like, "I think you get under their soft little underbelly." I was like, "You think that's what it is?"
Yeah, so the and 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 one of the things that I know is that courage is this idea of, allowing yourself to be vulnerable,
Mm.
right? Because you really have a hard time of being vulnerable if you are always armored up, if you're always protecting, if you never come to the table, if you're never truly yourself, if you've always got your, Stephanie's term, your representative showing up.
Yes.
Cannot
Or
be.
you have a way of escape. Pay attention to that too, because some people will have a mindset that I can get out of this, or let me sit in the back so I
No,
can get out of here.
right. No. Okay. So, like we do at church, huh? Sit way in the
We do
back.
that in relationships too. We do that in
Yes.
connections.
So it's interesting. That's interesting. So to not ever let somebody in fully, I'm wondering what that would look like for people, right?
Mhm.
It's kind of like for me, I used to give people a Google number instead of actually giving them my real phone number. Because I'm just sitting out there thinking to myself, like, yeah, I don't think so, right? And so if you're not quite sure, you want to investigate a little bit further. It's like, okay. And when I was younger, we would just give them the wrong name.
Give them the
You know?
wrong phone number and the wrong name.
Yeah. I don't have time for that anymore. I'm just
Mm-mm.
gonna tell you, like, I don't think so.
I'll see you around here again. That's my favorite line. I am sure we will meet again.
If it's meant to be. Because I might just duck out before you get to me if I see you first. so
Uh-huh.
um so yeah, so he talks about this thing of how he didn't even let himself melt or relax in front of his mother, a mother, somebody who birthed you. And
Mhm.
if you don't feel like your mother can accept and love you and see you unconditionally, then who can you be open to,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? If you feel like your mother is always judging you, I guess I get it, right? But them judging you, and that's one of the things that I talked about a few days ago with my dad. It's like I had to change the way I heard my father. So what I was doing was I was looking at the evidence.
Mhm.
I guess I could put it that way. So if I'm just paying attention to what he said,
Mhm.
then I might get caught up in, oh my, my dad is so disappointed in me. My dad doesn't think I can do any right thing right. My dad didn't think I could attract a husband. My dad didn't think I could get caught up in all of that stuff. But
Mhm.
it's kind of like I was telling y'all at one point, like my dad used to be sitting up there asking me why I would put all of that mess on the chicken. And, I messed up a perfectly good chicken. And then he talks about it so bad and then asks me, is there any more? Can I get seconds? Right. So I am one that I'm easy to see the evidence. If the evidence says is, yeah, you over there, you talking about it, but you eating it anyway, right?
Mhm.
Or you criticizing my weight, but what I see is you can't keep your hands off of me.
Mhm.
I now sure enough, we deserve better. Let me say it.
Yeah, because I'm like that lack of congruency is
Yeah,
like it's like chalk, like
right,
nails on a chalkboard for
right,
me.
right. You deserve better, right? But you can't always go by what the heck a person says to you, because in spite of themselves, what they have learned is not just that you're not good enough, is that really they're not good enough.
Mhm. And that's what that when you see that level of incongruency, that's exactly what that
Yeah,
means. It's hiding. It's
yeah,
a form of like, I'm going to peek out, I'm going to say something to grab your attention, but then I'm going to pull back. Like the boy who hits you because he likes you in
right,
school. What?
right. That's the guy across the, well, he don't live across the street, but that's the guy who watches me from across the street, right? He
Yeah.
comes over here and he's busy barking up my, trying to get at me, and then comes and tells me, but you ain't all of that. Like, well, boy, bye. Boy, bye. Right? I can say
Mhm.
that. I
Mhm.
could say that, but the other thing is the only reason why you saying that is because you do think I'm all that,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And that's the armor that you're putting up, thinking that I can't see it.
But a lot
You
of people can't see it. And
yeah.
there's a dance to that experience. People have
Mhm.
there's a dance that goes with that experience. And then I always say when people are ready to stop doing that dance, then they run into people like me or like you.
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
And because you can't do that dance with me without me saying, huh?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Oh,
This makes
look.
no sense. What are you doing? Like this, this, what is happening?
wait a minute. I'm like, and that's why I told him. I said, I told that grown man, boy, bye, right? And then he comes back trying to explain a few days later. I got to explain to you what I'm saying. Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear it, right? Because I am not taking that. I don't have time for that. I don't know. No, you got to figure out how to come correct to me, or you just walk on by.
Yeah, but people, I mean, when people come into a session, it's the same way. They say, I want this kind of marriage, I want this kind of relationship, I want this kind of partner. Um, and they're not in alignment with it. They don't even present like they want to invite that into their lives. And they're in a connection and it's not congruent. It's because of this very thing, this attachment trauma, that it stops people from attaching to what their hearts really desire, because there's an attachment challenge that started from birth, most likely. It started from a caregiver,
Or
and
it could have
so
started in a previous generation, from what we're understanding too,
yeah.
right? So yes, and it's really bad that we wait. I don't know. Maybe that's the incentive, but sometimes that's what we do. We get into these relationships just because people want to be in a relationship.
Because
So
they want to heal. People
yeah.
get in connections for healing. They really want to heal. They don't know that, but
Mm-hmm.
they get in connection so that they can heal. And then when the healing starts, they like, forget this. What's wrong with you? And they go away and they run away, and then they go and meet the same person with a different face. And here we go, same, you the same person to show up on a new job. We get together to heal, and
Mm-hmm.
we understand that it's a healing journey that we're on, to remember where we coming from and who we are. Then we can greet life from a different place. But as long as we think it's you, the guy next door, and the person sitting next to me on my job, it's for us to go back and do our work,
Yeah. Yeah.
remember. And that's what Mark had to do. He had to, well, he knew something was wrong, but there were some things that were recorded into him as a little person. I think it's so fascinating to learn that, his stuff with his mom, that was just like, yeah, like he was not crazy, but he didn't
Yeah.
know, he didn't make sense to him until he learned some truth.
Right, right. And so that's where we pick up, right? He goes back
Mm-hmm.
home and he says that even as and here he is, now he's more aware, because one of the things that meditation did do for him is to make him more aware of his body, right? Not that he is
Yes.
now so spiritually enlightened, but now
Right.
when he walked up the driveway, he said he could feel his chest tighten, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't sure. He wasn't even sure how to approach this, or that he could approach this. And then he says that when his mother embraced him, when he hugged his mother, he forced himself to stay in the embrace, because a lot of times what we want to do is we want to do that little pat, and
And then
now,
we pull back.
yeah,
Yeah.
right,
Mm-hmm.
right, the turtle
Mm-hmm.
thing, we want to
Mm-hmm.
just now I got to get back. But
Mm-hmm.
he was forcing himself to go through the emotional stuff, and then he says, and he says over time it took him to really become self-aware in this. So he was, what he was doing is he was bracing himself,
Mm-hmm.
because he knew that he was trying to embark on this.
Yeah, and right here, he
Go
said
ahead.
something like, he said, I accused her of not being able to see me or hear me. It was an emotional dead end. And I wrote on the side, he was an emotional dead end.
Mm-hmm.
But he said but you are the person who in the first sentence said I would create a penetrated shield so that she couldn't penetrate me, you
What
know,
page are you on?
on page 7 at the top.
Oh, okay, okay, okay,
On that page. When
okay.
I saw that, I said, you were a dead end, like you were like shut down
Uh-huh.
too,
Oh,
but he accused her.
okay. Mm-hmm.
Um, he said it was an emotional dead end, and he said I accused her of not being able to see me or hear me,
Mhm.
before he got this revelation. He accused her of being, not able, but it was true. As we've learned further, she couldn't look at him once upon a time, and that's what he was remembering. He was
Right,
remembering that experience.
right. Now, but so let's for just a second, because I could relate to that not being able to see you or hear you. One of the things that we know is like we have family and friends that remember us growing up.
Hmm.
And for some reason, they don't let us mature past a certain point.
Okay.
I'm serious though. I mean that's kind of, like, um I don't know if you probably have never had this experience, Stephanie. I'm sorry. Um,
I bet
but
I
I
have.
have, huh?
I said I bet I have, but go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. Well, so guys who believe that what you did in your 20s should be the same thing that you're doing in your 40s or 50s.
Oh,
And
okay.
so they want to come over and, like holler at you
You know.
as if they don't want to accept the fact that, bruh, um are you still there? Is that where you coming from?
Yeah, it
They can't
is.
see your evolution. They can't see the way you've changed or evolved. Or what they want to do is they want to keep pulling you back down. Like, come on, I need the 25-year-old saying, well, she dead. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I want to say. That girl, I beat her ass and buried her. That's what I want to say to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that's where they want you to be, and you're sitting there saying, no, we don't roll like that no more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You go do that. You go, because I'm not there anymore. If you want to still, and a
And
lot.
that's where I'm saying about people connections are for healing. So, I always talk about my first husband, and we are like brothers and sisters right now.
Mhm.
But he still has this notion that he is my husband and that I am his and this, that, and the
Uh-huh.
other. And he is a great person to talk to because he's really deep. I love talking to him, but he has this notion. He carries on like that. Sometimes I had to be like,
Will
just,
always be his.
yeah, yes. And those are his exact words. No, I won't. For many, many reasons. Why not?
Uh-huh.
And but what I said that to say is that that's what I mean about people are here for our healing. So he showed up on my journey so that I could do the work that I needed to do with him. And we had some beautiful babies and did some great things, but it was hard. It was very hard. But I grew. I became something amazing. But that's what he was there for. And that's what everybody shows up for, to grow us, to heal us. And so once that healing is gone, usually the leaf falls off and dies,
Mhm.
right? Like, let that go. Let it. You've
Right.
done the job that you came to do. So to expect me to be back where I was when we were 19, 20, 23, that doesn't even make sense.
Right. Right.
Like, it just doesn't make sense. This is doesn't no. So he's the only one, and then he's the only one when it comes to like affection. Like he wants the affection that he got then, and I'm not down for that. Like, the reason why is because you was my person. You're not my person now. So that level of affection is just not yours.
Right.
Not.
Right.
It's not. It's just not. It's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. It's mine. And I'm
Right.
holding it and keeping it for myself and my
Right.
person, but he just imagines that. Mm,
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing that people are constantly acting as if they have a hook that they can just tug
because
on it.
maybe once upon a time it was that. And
Yeah.
unfortunately it was that for you and you didn't grow. but it was medicine for me, and I used it for something different. Because if
Hmm.
you can
Hmm.
still think that, then that's what it was, your tool. You weren't even attached to me. It wasn't a soul thing. Because if it's 30 years later and you still think you can pull that hook out and catch this same fish, then
Like you're
it makes
I-
sense you're not here.
yeah, and so whether it is past relationships or sometimes it is your parents that can't see the person that you've
Yeah.
evolved to. Sometimes it's your siblings that don't respect the person that you are. I know that yeah, I know that I have had people, because we all have friends. We all have friends. And our friends, even though they grow up and evolve, we still want to like keep them to their younger self. Now, I get
Hmm.
that now you're I get now that you're a, a reverend so and so, right? But that don't mean that I'm coming here calling you reverend so and so, unless of course there are people around that we are fronting for. But my relationship with a person is not necessarily that I'm coming in calling you reverend so and so, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That I need to come up and call you your honor, or that I need to come up and bow down to you for any reason.
Mm-hmm.
But that's different, and it's situational, because
Mm-hmm.
what I do know is that my relationship with somebody is my relationship with them,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to be something that I'm you know that now all of a sudden I need to broadcast,
Mm-hmm.
my brother had a guy who was always wanting to go out and campaign for him, which was cool, right? I mean, we need all the people on the campaign trail that we could get. But this dude, every time he went out, what he wanted to talk about is what they did in high school, and how we used to hang out, and how we used to drink, and this girl and that girl and this, that, and the other. And I'm sitting up there saying, dude, that's not necessarily serving the best interest here. Yeah, I get that you want to talk about the depth of your friendship, like how long you've known him. But look, I want to say, check the room, dude. This is not the conversation that we having now, right? Check the room, right? Yeah, that's my thing. Yeah. So
Yeah, but my mom still, I think I told you, she will still, if I have on I don't know if she'll do it with the blue, but if I have on something white or pink or something and I'm eating spaghetti, if I'm eating anything, she'll be like, "Do you want a towel?
yeah, that's
You want
that.
a towel?" Like it, so for her, I'm still, clumsy. Stephanie, sometimes when I stumble up the stairs, I even shrink, like, oh God, what is she thinking? Like
Yeah,
I'm 50 years old and I'm like, she's thinking I'm clumsy, but it's just the way it is. This,
I am messy. Like I do put a towel over me because it seemed like I got a shelf that everything seems to fall on.
yeah, that was my narrative too,
Yeah.
but I'm in rebellion.
Yes, yes, yes. It's like I do my laundry now. That I can change my clothes. I
I
do
got
my
a little
own laundry.
spot pin in my purse. I'm good.
Okay.
But that's the
So
one. Like you don't see that, Mom, I'm not there like anymore. But yes,
mhm,
that was one of his challenges. And a lot of our
yeah.
challenges.
Yeah, so just like you just said, he was saying that he prepared himself for the worst, playing out the scenarios in her mind. Would she hold me? Um, and he was having this thing about, I really want to, I wanted to not be me. The problem, I wanted to not be me, right? Um, that's
Hmm.
what I'm getting from him. And so he went home. They embraced into a hug, which he said he could barely endure. He could hardly breathe. I just wonder how many people are like this with their parents, right?
I thought about that when you talked about the young girl that you reached and held. I said, "Ooh, I wonder what that was like for her," because it could have felt like needles.
Yeah.
Because we all have a different sensation based on where we come from when people touch us.
Mm,
I think I said with you when I was separated from my husband before we divorced, I love to dance. And once we were separated, there's something that happened in my brain that when I would go out to dance, I would become super panicky, anxious, because I didn't want anybody to touch my hands. I just something happened inside of me that I just would come home like almost in tears and calling Cleveland like, "Ma, what's wrong with me? I don't want them to touch my hands." And I love the dance. I love it's called the Kansas City two step. So it's kind of like a Detroit ballroom, elegant kind of dance like that. And so I go to all these classes and I'm learning to dance. And then when I get out there, there's only one person, my dance instructor. He is like the only person that could touch my hand, and a guy named Jeff that could touch my hand that I didn't feel like, don't touch me, don't touch
mm,
me. And it just something came over me. I have no idea what, whether I felt because I was out here by myself, I didn't feel protected. And so I felt vulnerable. I'm not sure, but it happened just like that. Like psychologically, my brain was like, this is not okay. Even though I love the dance, everybody didn't have privy to my space. And I remember that it was a crazy sensation. It was um
yeah.
weird. It just
Yeah,
kept us.
I think all of us have a zone like that, though. You know what I mean? At certain times, I have friends who don't touch my hair, right? And it's not because they have, you
But if
know,
I'm out dancing, I know the dance requires you to touch and to move and to
right.
spin.
But and some people don't touch my back, and other people don't touch. You know, we got certain no zones, whatever that may mean.
But we
Um,
should find out what it means because it's a message.
uh, yeah, yeah. What you know what? And it's so interesting because there are certain things. I'm a touchy person. I'm a touchy person and I reach out and touch people all the time. I don't always know that it's like, oh, she grabbed my hand or oh, she touched my arm, or that they're going to make a big deal out of it.
You
Like,
don't. That's okay.
oh, she touched me, you know?
But that's their work to do. I mean, like I have to ask, can I give you a hug? I even asked my granddaughter, can I give you a hug? But I've been trained to do that. I knew this called
Yeah.
me.
Well,
I've been trained to do that. So, um, but that I wouldn't do that if I, came encounters with you or, I guess it's just a feel, but yeah, it's okay to, I mean,
yeah.
that's their work to do. If it jars us, it's not something that you got to work on. And that's what we do when we feel uncomfortable, like Mark, we blame the external forces
Hmm. Hmm.
when it should register in me like, whoa, what was that
Right, right.
for
So,
me?
and the funny thing is that I have told people I'm coming in, I'm coming in, I'm a
That's
hugger,
good. That's good. Yeah, that's
you
good.
know. So I get that everybody is not that. And so that little girl, as I hugged her, I don't know. Like I said, she just her arms were limp at her side and
Mm-hmm.
hugged me back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I wasn't really, it wasn't about her. I was just thinking to myself, like, I mean, it was about her. I wanted her to feel that embrace because what
Mm-hmm.
I understood is that her mother wasn't going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like that with my nieces and nephews now. It's like I'm hugging all over y'all. So get over it. And even as they're getting taller than me, it's like, you know, and I got this bad habit of now because there's this thing about belonging. I got this bad habit of saying you belong to us. You belong
Oh, that's
to us.
awesome. That's good. don't know what you are healing right there. That's good. That's good
I
stuff.
got a hug for you. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, that's good. That's really
Yeah.
good. That's super good.
And I think that that is one of the reasons why I am, you know, uh, who is us? My family. Yeah, she belongs to us. They belong to us. And so one of the things that for me, that's why I make sure that whenever they need me, even if it's my nephew sending me a Cash App request for $3, whenever they need me, I'm there. I'm making it a point to respond because I don't ever want it to be them to feel like somebody left me hanging. Like, dude, you're gonna always have somebody that's rescuing you, knocking down barriers to get to you because you belong to us. And that's what I just say all the time. You belong to us. So whoever you pick up the phone and call, somebody is gonna be there. So
And you've had the luxury of having that as, your siblings and, that being demonstrated, that's a blessing.
yeah,
Um, to
yeah.
have that being demonstrated and modeled for
hmm hmm Yeah, and for so many reasons, I think that that is important. Um, so he was recognizing that he had resistance in his body, and then he was trying to figure out how to stay present. And I think that that is a challenge for all of us too. How do we stay present in those moments of discomfort so that we are able to pay attention to what comes up for us in the midst of that. So if it's a hug, where's your head at? I used to tell people all the time, like, where'd you go?
Mhm.
Right? Because
But you can
sometimes,
feel the shift.
yeah, you can feel that they have left the room, or that their mind is gone someplace else. They start thinking about something else. And the question is where'd you go?
Or just simply come back. Get back over here.
Yeah, because the other thing we used to do is do 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 because it
Yes.
seems like they take a flight, right?
Hmm.
Um, and so, in spite of his resistance, he wanted to stay in that. It wasn't new information. He said he'd seen the pattern mirrored in his relationships, only this time he wasn't walking away. He says, my plan was to heal this wound at its source. And so he saw the source as being his relationship with his mother. And that was you know, what he needed to heal. So it was a lot. It was a lot for him, right?
Listen at that. Yeah,
Yeah, it was a lot. He was talking about, and sometimes I wonder how much of this is psychological. It's all psychological, huh?
it is.
Right? Because he was saying,
All of life is the mind.
right? He was like, my chest started to tighten, and then he was like, and then I went through something else, and then I started shaking like I was gonna have a seizure, and my stomach was turning over, and he was going through all of this stuff, and I was thinking to myself, like, dude, get a grip, right? How much
Everybody
is
goes through it.
yeah,
People go through it. I mean, it's a real experience. It's a real experience.
we
That's
freak
there's a
ourselves up into a tizzy and then blame it on somebody else. Like, what do you have in your skin? Cyanide or poison or what? It's what we do to ourselves. We make ourselves sick.
but his experience was done to him. It was real. He pulled away because he didn't make it up. I was saying that yesterday. It's not like it's just a perception. He had an experience that warned him to stand in the if I had decided to let people touch my hand, I know that that would have been a very but I didn't. I just like, no, I'll sit down and watch everybody else dance because I didn't want people touching my hand. I didn't even know why. I just didn't
Mhm,
want that. And um that was an experience, we call this experiential modality, that he's letting her hold him so he could feel the sensation, because for years, 30 years, he was like, hey ma, get away.
mhm,
And that
mm,
was to get away. Now he's like, I'm gonna stay open. Even when
right.
you go through yeah, just trying to stay open will make that physical stuff is like it's real. It happens.
So, but here, I'm not. So I get that he had a real experience, right? But I guess what I really want to do is say how our mind sometimes makes things that aren't real real. So, like, say for instance, you go to the store and somebody coughs, right? Somebody coughs around you. When you go home, all of a sudden you cough, and now it's like, oh man, I gotta go take a test. We
Mhm.
psych
Yeah.
ourselves into fearful moments,
Mhm.
and we don't know how often we bring on experiences because we psychologically have have pulled what we fear towards us by
Mhm.
worrying about it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
when so what I'm saying is that he started going through these experiences, his body quaking and his stomach turning over and all of this stuff. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was based on a past experience, but so often is we go through those moments for
But his
part of.
mom was holding him. He had never let her hold him, and she was in the embrace, and all of those things happen. It's almost like a surrender.
Mm,
So it's that moment of, okay, I gotta let go some more. I gotta let go some more. I gotta let go some more. And I'm guilty of that when it comes to a hug. I'll hug tight, but I like to stay in a hug to when I do like this, because I don't initially come into a hug like this.
uh,
Except with my babies, my children, I don't come into a hug like just relaxed. If I stay embraced, eventually I will breathe and then I'll let myself be in the hug.
Now it's interesting because I love hugs, right? I love a good hug. And I'm good with a hug until, like, I will tell you, sometimes you get people who you can feel a shift in the midst of the hug where it goes from being a nice hug to being one that is it makes you feel dirty. It makes you, like the people who decide they're gonna press their pelvis in,
God,
um
I
or
know what
that.
to do. I think I slapped somebody. I would not. What? What are we doing here?
It turns into something that's not a hug, and
Oh
then it's
wow.
like I'm just like I'm so quick to, like, I gotta push. but but sometimes you can feel that in the midst of an embrace when it's somebody just starting up. It's no longer.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, there's that, and then you don't want to hug them anymore, especially
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know how to act.
And
Ugh.
I'm the one to say, what the hell was that? What was that?
I
What
push
was
first.
what was
I
that?
push first.
I've never had that experience, thank goodness. Probably as a teenager. I as a teenager, but I don't, yeah. Uh-uh. What?
Yeah, I used to not necessarily trust my instincts. I'll say it that way. I worked in retail as a teenager and in my early 20s and all that stuff. I worked in retail, and I would constantly have people um test my boundaries to see, I guess, if I had them, and then want to make me feel some kind of way. So, like, say for instance, like your
If you
necklace.
had them.
Well, so like your necklace, right?
Uh-huh.
I would have guys come up and want to just like touch, like need to pick
What?
up my necklace to look at it. Like, and
What?
yes, like, like, you know, whatever you claim the reason is that you need to put your hands on me.
Hmm.
I'm just trying to look at, no, 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 right? At, at first I didn't feel the courage. I didn't have the courage at first to say, you know what, that is inappropriate. Because they're looking at me as if to say, well, what's wrong with you? Why are you so up? Keep your
Mhm.
hands off of me, right?
Mhm.
At first I didn't have that in me. I didn't have the the ability to let my no resonate in somebody else,
Mhm.
right? I didn't have that. I had the, why asking what you know I didn't have that. So I felt
Mhm.
like people would try to violate my space, my person. It was, they come up to you and want to touch your
Touch your
earrings.
hair.
Like,
People, your earrings, that's just too close.
it's just,
What? Just reaching. I mean, I've had people do this to my hair, and I'm like, yeah, and I'll do that to my hair. And this is recently. I only had this so it's been 15 years with this. But other than that, that space, yeah, but I'm a fighter too. I don't know. That's a lot. That's a lot of, that's too this. People who
right.
get in my space and touch me is because they're supposed to. Like, that's the thing. But I can't even imagine um that close. And I remember the statement, see with your hands, I mean see with your eyes, not with your hands. Like, I just wanted to see it. Well, look at it. You don't need to touch it.
Right.
You
Right.
don't need to touch it. But yeah, that's like another violation.
Yes. 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 And I used to,
But again, here to heal you. Here to heal you.
right, right. I used to have, that was one of those things. And I needed to have the authority within myself to say, you know, back the heck up, right?
Mhm.
Back,
You're in my personal space.
right, right. And so all of that stuff is
That just feels gross to me, just feeling it. Like, I'm
yeah,
like, hmm.
yeah.
So
So
that sensation that you're talking about right there is that sensation when you are in a modality of trying to release and become vulnerable in an embrace. We call it hold till release. That is a process, a modality that we use in marriage therapy, and
mm,
just holding till release. Because even married people have a hard time staying in an embrace
uh,
until I am vulnerable, staying in a connection, a physical connection with no words, just a hold. It is very challenging. You have married people who've been married for 20 years will just break into tears because that person wants to get away so bad, but the other person is not letting them go. And it's like, this was hard.
mm,
But it's
wow.
a thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I get it though. I get it because
Yeah.
I have definitely been that person who,
Yeah.
associates, don't, I'm done, get away from me, don't touch me anymore. I've been that person. And yes, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But he softened.
yes, yeah, he did. So anyway, so we'll pick up on this tomorrow. Um,
Yeah.
and y'all, I don't know. I don't know if it's just this is everybody. I don't know. Maybe you don't have the issues with touch or being held and all of that stuff, or maybe you do. Try it, right?
Hmm.
Get you a hug. Step in for an embrace and see what happens.
See,
See how,
pay attention, like be present. Because
yeah,
we do it so often, we don't know. We don't
yeah.
know. I was thinking when I was reading, I was like, can I stay in an embrace with my mama? I wonder how long I could do that. I'm curious. She was not feeling good yesterday, or else I would have tried it because it sure was like, I wonder how long I could do that. How long I could stay in an embrace with my mom, or how long can my mom stay in an embrace with me?
Now, I used to hug my mom for a long period of time. As a matter of fact, I'd stand there sometimes with my arms wrapped around her or something for a period of time. But for some reason, what I will tell y'all as a grown woman, I used to want to lay my head on my mother's lap
Hmm.
and have her stroke my hair as she talked to me. And my mother would not do it. She'd be like looking at me like, if you don't get your ass away from me.
Would she? Well, my mother probably be like, "Oh yes." But I,
Yeah. My
wow.
mama was looking at me like it, like get your butt.
Now my biological father, ooh, he will hold on for a long time. And I'm grateful because I needed to get that bond, because I didn't meet him until I was grown. Um, but he'll hold on for a long time. I like his hugs. He holds on.
And let me say, because my dad wasn't a big hugger. My dad was not that. He was not a hugger at all, really. I could blame it on he had such a big belly. I don't know, but my dad wasn't a hugger. Anyway, I remember I had a girlfriend who, the first time I went over to her house, her father hugged me, and he was not a person that lets go when he hugs. And it was so disorienting and disconcerting for me. I remember being in my head and and having to calm down. Like I was thinking to myself, what is he doing? What is this? What is this? And I was it wasn't like he did it someplace private or like,
Mhm. Mhm.
it was right there in the living room. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, okay. I'm just like, I'm in that mode, right? I was just so not accustomed to that. And I wanted to make it about something different. But then what I realized is that was just him, and he hugged everybody
Mhm.
like that. And but it was really, when it first started, it was really uncomfortable for me. uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they have some really good studies, and if I think about it today, I'll bring up some statistics or whatever, and bring in tomorrow about the benefit of hugs and why it's so important, even as we are first coming out of the mother's womb. That's why now they put the babies right on the chest, coming
Mhm.
right out to that for that embrace. It is something that is in us. The Creator put it in us to receive that embrace. It's a part of who we are, and we've been duped.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have read accounts where babies that were stillborn, they lay them on their mother's chest, and the mother's heartbeat activates her child.
Yes. Hmm.
I mean, it just, the whole idea that is just amazing for me.
Mm-hmm. So this was good. Ooh,
Yeah, thank you
but
so.
get some hugs today, y'all.
Yes, and you know what? I used to want to do that thing. How Okay, I wanted to I had a reminder in there that thing was reminding me of. But I wanted to do those things. You know how people have those stands, free hugs. I wanted to do one of those, but of course, I I think we always, I start thinking about, oh, I'm gonna get a pervert. Oh, I'm gonna get somebody that's gonna misread this. but yeah, I love hugs. So, all right, y'all. So
All
big
right.
hug to
Yes. Big
you.
hugs. Hug yourself. You can't hug nobody else. Yes. Whew. Yes.
Embrace, embrace. All right. So
Hmm.
thank you so much, Stephanie.
You're
Blessing.
welcome. Have a great rest of your day.
You
Thankful
too.
Thursday.
Thankful, thrilling, all of that Thursday. Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Terrific. Okay.
Terrific
Thrilling,
Thursday.
thankful Thursday. All right. See ya. All right. So yeah, I am off of here. I get to go on with the rest of my day and all of that good stuff. If you, Sarika and Erica and Ruth and whoever else may be listening to this, what I was thinking about, and I forgot to ask Stephanie about, is trying to see what everybody is doing on Martin Luther King Day, because what I was thinking about is that we could, since most people may not have to go to work on that day, maybe we could do a group thing, and that would be kind of cool to get everybody on and just kind of talk or discuss on that day for an hour or so. And I wanted to see what you guys thought and check out with Stephanie and see what she thinks and see if we can make that happen. So let me know. Everybody, we can have a coffee or tea, or just kind of just chit chat. All right, so if you're interested, of course, if you're interested, I can, okay, Saria's in. So I could send out a link, and let me just verify with Stephanie, and I'll send out a link to the Zoom room, and then we could do that on MLK Day. That would be so good. I'm so excited. All right. Yeah, love and blessings to you. And I will see you tomorrow, God willing, and the creek don't rise. All right. See ya.